if you are talking to somebody like me or somebody who's listening who wants to get into slide, handful of quick tips on how to kind of get some stuff really happening, some basic things. All right, at least get this together. What are some things that you would say to somebody like me or somebody listening who's a novice slide player?
Okay, so this stuff is pretty specific to me because, like, I've seen Derek play with tens.
Yeah.
And his action is really low too, and somehow he makes it work.
Really?
So yeah. I don't know how.
I got no excuse now. Dang it. Okay. Go on.
But for me, I'd like to think that everyone is, and maybe I'm wrong, but like, I'm pretty sure I've been told that he plays tens on that SG. But for me, what I learned, like my experience was, okay, I'm playing on a record, and like it's like a super like John Prine meets Neil Young, like tuned down to like maybe tune your E down to a C, and slide and stuff. And I remember doing that, playing tens, same tens or 11s on my Strat or some other guitar, and it would just sound like shit because, like you said, buzzing out. And I just thought maybe I'm just bad at this. Like maybe it's me that's the problem. And there was a few things that I learned. First of all, you got to get a slide that fits your finger properly. And this is something that most people don't think about. You go to a Guitar Center, you go to Long McQuaid, for all my Canadian people that are listening.
Yeah.
And you grab the first slide. You say, what's that Dunlop glass slide there? And you go, oh, check it out. And it's like 3 times the size of your ring finger, your pinky. And you go, I'll take it. And you go home and it's like, soupy around. And it's got to fit like a glove. It doesn't have to be cutting off circulation, but it should feel like you don't realize that it's there, right? You just want it to be an extension of your finger. So it doesn't matter what finger you play. You know, some of my favorites, basically all my favorite slide players play on their ring finger. Bonnie Raitt, one of the greatest of all time, middle finger. Jason Isbell, middle finger. Pinky always worked for me from the beginning. I don't know if it was because I liked playing, I could play chords still. It just felt right on the pinky. So what finger you play with doesn't matter. Just make sure that you find a slide that fits. It might take some searching and some like back and forth, but when you find the right one, and I'm not saying you need to find my slide, but it is good on a pinky. But I've definitely told people many times it's probably not right for you. Just find one that fits.
Yeah.
Okay, so that once you do that, like you were saying, action's got to be just a little higher, and it's physics. You're taking an object, and you're putting extra weight on the strings than you would if your finger was pressing down on it. So you need to balance that out. So if you're playing tens, chances are the 11s are just going to be a bit tighter and have a bit more weight against it to hold its own, and raise that action just slightly. It doesn't have to be like every guitar I have, if it's a baritone or like an open D or standard tuning, they're all set up to a point where I can comfortably play slide and it doesn't fret out, and it's also at a level where I can play just normal guitar style without a pick, and it feels right. Now, I do like a bit of fight. I do like slightly higher action, and I don't have like specific measurements for anybody. It was a bunch of trial and error.
Yeah.
And eventually I just found what I liked, and when I take a few guitars to my tech, they just kind of know at this point what I like. And still, even when they go, how's this? And I take it and I go, just a little bit more. It still takes after all these years.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I've asked like the measurement, and they've given it to me, and it never works because it changes on every type of guitar. But those are the main things. Find a slide that fits, action, string gauge, and just like, focus to the details. Like, it's not about cool licks. It's not about playing fast. It's about muting and making sure when you're playing a single note line, like on the B string, that you're not hearing sympathetic vibrating on the E string or the G. You got to mute those. And then your vibrato has got to be dialed in. Your intonation has got to be dialed in. And intonation is so hard because we as guitar players tend to think of intonation. We base it off of visual. Like, we look. And if you do that with slide, you're never going to play in tune. If you play any instrument, you got to have good ears, and you got to like trust intonation from your ears, not with your eyes. Of course, that doesn't even have to be said. But like, technically, when you're playing slide, and you want to play in tune, you're basically on the next fret almost.
Yeah.
And that's when you're in tune. So it's very strange to get used to when you're not used to it. Yeah, it's the little details that I think make a great slide player. It's not cool licks or anything like that. That was way longer than it should have been, but
No, it's great.
those first few things are the most important for sure.